In Cluj, we celebrate diversity and multiculturalism.
Okay, hello, good morning. I'm Pedro Casermeiro. This is better for me. I'm Pedro Casermeiro from Spain. Well, first of all, I want to thank to PATRIR and to Mihai to give me the chance to be here. This is a very nice seminar. The days we are here, I'm feeling really nice. So thank you very much for the invitation. Yesterday in the living library, I explained a little bit of me. I grew up in a small village, and then I moved to Barcelona to study. I studied psychology. And when I finished, I started to work in a Rromane NGO, the biggest Rromane NGO in Spain. There were more than 1,000 workers in that NGO. It was a non-Roma NGO, was led by non-Roma people, but was working mainly with Roma people. Almost 30% of the workers were Roma. I started to work in one neighborhood inside Barcelona. It's called Bon Pastor. That neighborhood is in the north, it's a suburb in the north of the city, but the people who is living there, they don't feel that they are citizens of Barcelona. Okay, I was living in the center, and when I told to the people, yes, I'm living in the center, they asked me, in Barcelona? Like, if I was living in a different place, and they were living in Barcelona also. It was a normal neighborhood with a small Roma community. Maybe the most interesting thing was the neighborhood in Barcelona with less migration and maybe less Roma community. But in the public school, all the pupils were Roma or migrants. And I started to work in the afternoons with the Roma children, Roma teenagers, from 12 years old to 15. And I realized during that season that they have a concept about their identity, about the Roma culture, a little bit confused with the marginal identity, with marginal culture. For them, be Roma was like be bad boys, be in the street, disturb in the school, don't go to school, drop out at 10, 11 years old, always making some problems in the neighborhood. And was their concept. After 1 year, 1 year and a half working with them, I used to make some workshops in the afternoon, musical workshops, to make some sport, and this kind of thing, to not be in the street. So I started to think that to make them reflect about their culture, about their identity, maybe the best way was to go to the school and make something inside the school with all the pupils there. So I approached to the school, to the public school, where all the pupils were Roma migrants, and I was talking with the headmaster about make a workshop on Roma history, because I thought that if we talk about the history of the Roma people, they will be able to think about their culture, about their roots, and they will have something more to identify as a community, as a group, knowing who are they and where are they coming from and what were their roots. And to make known the non-Roma people what is our culture, the interesting thing was also to bring the Roma history inside the schools. One day I saw a big book with Paco de Lucía, is a guitar player of flamenco, and I open it. There was a small charter talking about the history of flamenco. And inside this charter talking about the history of flamenco, there was a small charter talking about the history of Roma. So I said, oh, this is interesting. And I start to read the history of Roma. And I get interested on it, and I start to look more about history of Roma people. And I found nothing in the library, in different libraries. I always found the same. In the branch of music, I had to look for something about the history of flamenco. And always inside the history of flamenco, I found something small about the history of Roma. And this small thing in all the books was the same, written by the same person, the same words, so there was nothing. And I started to make a bigger research at universities, talking with other NGOs, and I started to find something, okay? And I think I had to bring this to the school because in Spain nobody knows nothing about the Roma people. So one of the objectives was bring the Roma history to the schools. And the most important objective was to make reflect the Roma peoples about their history, about their culture, okay? So we started these workshops in secondary school with pupils from 13 years old to 16 years old. Inside these workshops, we have like 6-7 sessions talking about history and 2 sessions talking about our identity, talking about stereotypes, talking about prejudices, talking about discrimination. And when we finished the first year of this project, I realized that talking about history was really boring. They weren't motivated. Even the non-Roma pupils were more interested in the Roma history. The sessions that people were really participative was the sessions that we were talking about their culture, where they expressed to the other pupils in the school what was the Roma culture, the Roma identity, our traditions. They could express a lot of things about their ideas, about being Roma inside that neighborhood, the problems they have inside the neighborhood for being Roma. So I decided that we should change the workshop and talk more about these issues. And I realized of something really interesting, that inside our culture, the Roma culture, we have some traditions that were shared with other cultures. So I wanted to make something to make known to the Roma people that they are not alone in the world, that their culture is nothing close, that their culture is something dynamic, something shared. So what I decided to do was to bring all the peoples to say something about their culture, even if they are from Morocco, even if they were from Ecuador, from Asia, from India, because in these schools there were pupils from all around the world. In the first sessions, they always explain something about their culture. I realized that we are doing also the same, we are doing the same, we are doing the same. But I didn't say, okay, I asked for the Roma people, this thing that this person has something to do with our culture. For example, always the first example was the Roma weddings, okay? I always ask first to the Maghrebin people to explain something. And if they explain something that is not related with weddings, I ask for them to explain how are the weddings. And when they explain, yes, we have 3 dresses for the girlfriend, we have to prove that the girl is virgin, we do this, the parents have to go to ask for the hand of the lady, those things. And when they explain these things, I ask for the Roma, it sounds to you? And all the Roma, yes, we do the same, exactly the same. Just to make them reflect that we are not alone in the world, that our culture is something open, something that is dynamic, that is learning. So I start to do the same with all the cultures. For example, we have Indian people who say that they burn, when somebody dies, they burn the belongings of that person. Okay? And we do exactly the same. So the main idea was to make them reflect about these things. The Roma people live in India like 1,000 years ago, and they start to move by Persia, by Greek, Turkey, Armenia, this area to the Balkans, Romania, and then they arrived to the west of Europe. And in every place, they took something. And these things that they were taking, by the way, always was shared with the other people. When some Roma in Spain die, we are mixing things from India, from Greece, and from Catholics. So this is the Roma culture. It's a mixing of different cultures. And I wanted to make this workshop to make them reflect on this, that our culture is alive. It's nothing closed, that born spontaneously. It's something that is shared, that is dynamic, that is changing. Because sometimes the idea that the Roma people have is that we are closed. We cannot change. We have to keep ancient, very ancient traditions, and we cannot change. We cannot mix with the non-Roma people. We have to be different to them. No, our culture is always shared, is always changing, is always adapting to the place we are. So for the Roma people's word, like, hey, I can be friend of you, I can be friend of you, I can be friend of you, and now you also can understand me because we are sharing things. In these first sessions of the workshop, we were talking about the social part of their identity, okay? So more the social components. And then we start to talk about the individual components of the workshop. And I like to make one exercise with one video. I'm going to show you, and you will understand what is it about better. Okay, this video is in Spanish, because it's made in Spain. It's made by the first organization I used to work, but have the subtitles in English.
Eso sí, cuando me quedo en mi casilla, todo me va bien. Lo malo es cuando gente como yo quiere salir, no sé, para trabajar, como todo el mundo.
Más de 500.000 de personas luchan en este país por no ser encasilladas. Fundación Secretariado Gitano, el empleo nos hace iguales.
What I used to do is ask to the pupils, what is this box? What means this box? So they start to say, oh, this box means that we, the Roma people, are thieves, are liars, and what the people is thinking about the Roma. So they start to understand what's an stereotype. Even I have a very good descriptions of the box with children of 10 years old, 11 years old, and they were describing better the box than people with 14, 15, 16 years old. When they start to know what we are talking about, that we are talking about prejudices, stereotypes, they always think we are going to discuss about what people is thinking about Roma. But we change the topic and we start to think, what is the box that you are creating around you? So they start to realize what kind of ideas they have about their culture. Like, I'm Roma, I cannot study because I'm stupid. I have no future. I have no expectations for the future, just the typical ones for the Roma. So we start to discuss about this. If you are Roma, but you can go to university, you can go wherever you want, you can find a good job, but you have to make an effort. And we make this exercise not just for the Roma, also for all the participants, because everybody, we create a box around us, okay? And we start to discuss about what kind of stereotypes we have about being Roma, because I used to have also my stereotypes. The stereotypes also that we have inside us. It's not just the stereotypes coming from out, also our stereotypes. So we started to discuss about it. And a little bit beyond that, we start to discuss about the box we create around the gender roles. How have to behave a Romani woman, and how have to behave a Romani man. And inside the area of the boys, we just have to be good friends of our friends, to have a good t-shirt, to go to work some hours, to be with the uncles. And in the box of the women, they have to do a lot of things. They have to take care of the family, to take care of the children, to go to the school to pick up the children, to cook, to buy the food, to run the house, to go to work, to make a lot of things. The boys start to realize, hey, this is not fair, and they know that it wasn't fair. So all these exercises was a way to reflect about their culture, to raise the awareness, to be more aware about something that they cannot discuss. What is the Roma culture? Nobody discusses about it in your house, in the school, in no place. In this workshop, I learn from the children more than them from me, because sometimes they know more about their culture than the things that you are thinking about, okay? Because we are not conscious about our way to behave, how we are. So when you give a space to reflect about it, you start to become more aware. I think that the most important result was that they knew deeply what means the word Roma. they wasn't out of the typical prejudices, stereotypes they had. All that identity related to marginal culture were separated to the Roma culture. So they were in a position to know what it means be Roma, and the non-Roma people were in a position to know what is the Roma culture. And one important result after some years making this workshop, a lot of Roma started to finish high school, to reach at university, to reach different high education levels, and until that moment, nobody knew any Roma in that neighborhood had studied. I never make any kind of school support to them. I never help them to make homework, to make nothing. They just get motivated, and by their own, they make what they think they can do. So sometimes it's more important to motivate people than to teach them how they have to make workshops and these kind of things. And the last outcome is that these people inside the neighborhood, they created one organization of Roma students. And now they are inside the neighborhood, the people who are changing the things. And when the changes are coming from inside, is when the neighborhood is changing. And this organization is called Rromane Sikliovne.
How is it in general in Spain? Is there a lot of discrimination against Roma people, or is it not so common, let's say? And now in this economic crisis?
In Spain, well, I think in all the world, the Roma community is discriminated. For example, I don't know the right numbers, but if in Spain 5% or 10% of population is inside the poverty, the 50% of the Roma are inside this lawyer. So most of the Roma people is living in the poverty in Spain. We have a lot of problems to find job for two reasons. The first one is because we don't have education, we don't have training to find a job. And secondly, when somebody realize that you are Roma, you are not going to get that job, for sure. For example, the other day I was discussing with one friend. They are two Roma guys, two brothers. One is dark and the other is white. Okay? They were having a coffee in a bar and they saw one employment offer in front of them in a shop. So the Roma approached one of them, the dark-faced one approached to that offer and he asked for the job. And the man from the shop told him, no, we have covered this offer. We have the worker. We don't need nobody. So he turned to the bar and his brother, the white one, approached to the shop and he got the job. So we have these kind of things. Another curious thing is in the Roma neighborhoods, we have two big Roma neighborhoods around Barcelona. One is called La Mina and the other is called San Cosme. In one of the neighborhoods, all the streets have name of rivers, and in the other neighborhood, all the streets have name of planets. So when you deliver one curriculum and people know that you are living in a street with a name of a river, of a name of a planet, they know you are Roma.